Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon what time you're watching this recording. Welcome to AP2 at Odessa College. This video will serve to welcome you both to our online and hybrid courses and introduce you to navigating our course through Blackboard Ultra. Along the way, I'll provide a few tips and techniques, as well as information that will help you to be successful not only in this class, but in your future courses and potentially your career pathway. So with that, I'll leave you here and I'll go ahead and move into Blackboard. Taking it to student preview mode, and that will allow the course to look like it will look for you. So what you'll notice as soon as you enter the course, the main area of the course is right in the center. It's called the course content area. You will also notice that it will state the name of your course right over here. And you have a few tabs here. Most commonly, you will be in the content tab or the gradebook tab. In our class, we do not use the messages area. We prefer to receive communication via email. And it is always best to access your discussions from in the course content area, not here. Because when you go here, you'll see discussions for basically the whole course open right now. And we want you to complete the discussions in a relevant time period when it's synced with your content. Okay. Also, in case you're curious who's in class, you can come over here, see the roster, course description. We won't use these very frequently. You will use these, though, if you want to join an online session that's live. If you want to watch a video that's already pre-recorded, it will be over here in the appropriate folder. Also, there will be announcements. This is where you access your announcements. Because I'm recording this prior to making the course active, there are no active announcements at this moment. Okay? And there are a few other tools over here. Let's go ahead and look at now the main area of Blackboard. First day of class, first week of class, you're going to go right here to start here. And that is where this welcome video is. So thankfully, you've already made your way there if you're watching this video. The next item is the syllabus. I'm going to come back to the syllabus in a few moments. Here are some netiquette guidelines just to remind you of to be kind with your classmates, to be understanding, to be professional. These are some informational aspects that probably most of you have heard, but maybe you haven't heard in a course until recently. Tips to be successful in the course. I provide them in multiple areas. Here are a few from Courtney and Sarah who have taken this course and been successful previously. I will also have an announcement with a few more detailed tips from Courtney. There's another announcement with tips from me, and then even yet another with how to prepare for exam 1 and lab exam 1. So we really focus here on helping you understand what's necessary to succeed at every level of the course, from the individual assignments to the exams to the final exam. One thing that I've been using in my course for quite a few years is this area called the Student Lounge. This is a discussion board that's just for you guys. If you want to speak with your classmates, offer a tip to somebody, ask if they want to meet for either a virtual or face-to-face study session, you can do that here. I do not monitor this area to answer questions. If you have questions of me, we have discussion board where specific topics will be answered. Also, always email me. And what I commonly do if someone asks a question that has not been answered elsewhere and is relevant to the whole class, I will just turn your question into an announcement, which is can be very helpful. Odessa College, in order to help you guys connect with the course and with the college, is working on themes. Every 2 weeks, we will have a new theme in the course, and we'll discuss these where appropriate. The first one may be about getting to know OC, getting familiar with what services are offered at OC. And then as we progress through the term, there will be quite a few others that help you connect with different things that are going on at certain points in the term or in the whole semester. I provide a summary. So that's it actually for the Start Here area. If you go under that, notice how this works. If you click on a learning module, that's this dark banner here, it will open up the items underneath it. But if you've already completed all that, there's no need to click on it. And then when it's closed, you can easily see the next learning module. I've been doing this for a while. I have a separate link for the course schedule. If you're in the online course, you're going to have a detailed course schedule. If you're in a hybrid course, you'll have an outline and a detailed course schedule. The outline is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to gear this one toward the detailed course schedule. So let me open this up, let you guys see this. So here's how our schedule works now. It is listed by week. So during week 1, and regardless of which course you're in, there are typically 2 due dates during the week. Module 1 begins with the endocrine system, but before you begin working on the course content, it's really important in A&P to understand what's needed and to get connected to the course. So we have first day or so is an introduction, and there are 5 specific assignments that come with that introduction. All total, it wouldn't even take an hour of time to complete all of these, to be honest with you. They're really about getting oriented and connected, okay? They are due early in week 1 because we have found that students are more successful and successful sooner if they get the introduction out of the way and then can begin on the course content. I've seen time and time again, sometimes people that jump in think, oh, I got to get after it. They get into endocrine, they never bothered to do this stuff. They've missed quite a few tips and tricks, and overall it winds up taking them more time. So it's very important that you do the introductory assignments, watch the introductory video, take care of your orientation aspects of the course before you begin with the endocrine system in AP2, okay? This is built to be really simple and to show you the schedule that will help keep you on task. So in Module 1 and in my course, I highly recommend that when you're completing coursework, work on lab for a given chapter before lecture. So with the endocrine system, when you're learning hormones, work on learning the lab content, the visual items, the glands and what hormones are produced before you begin learning the deeper physiology that's presented in lecture. Now, it's probably been about 4 years now, frankly maybe a little bit longer, that I made this switch and started focusing on lab first. Lab is the foundation in AP2. And since that time, I think it's helped the class to become much more efficient for you guys as learners, because I've layered it in such a way that the lecture portion of the class is built on the foundation of lab, and all of our exams are created in that way as well. So it just really flows. So once again, big first tip, complete or at least get well into the lab content and develop an understanding for the lab content on any given chapter before you begin the lectures. The quizzes for each chapter, I call them PQs or practice quizzes. Those are geared primarily towards the lecture content. However, about a quarter of all of your lecture tests will be lab content. On the lecture test, you will not see any images, but the information will be presented in a multiple choice or true-false question. So what you will see is, even though these quizzes they're a good portion of the homework, almost 20% of your course grade, in fact, They will be presented as multiple choice and true false, but they cover both lecture and lab. All right. I know I've taken a while to get through week 1 and just right here, because understanding how week 1 is laid out will help you to see how the rest of the term is laid out. Notice for most of these, I have assignments due on a Thursday and then again on a Monday. So that helps to keep us on task and doing things throughout the week. Okay, one of the benefits of the modern world, which you can say it's a benefit or you can say it's problematic, is everything's available online 24/7. Back in the day when you took A&P, it was always 16 weeks long. Now it's 16 weeks long if you're in high school and taking it dual credit online, but every other course is 8 weeks or shorter. What that means is you're responsible for doing the content multiple days a week. Even if you're in a hybrid class that say meets Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, you really need to use 5 or 6 days a week to be active in the course content to learn that information. Benefit: students that are active with the course content 6 days a week, it gets in your short-term memory, which helps to propel it to your long-term memory. And come final exam, it's much easier for you to recall that information and brush up on it. Back in the day when every class was 16 weeks, you're taking your final exam almost 4 months after you started the course. That's tough. For those of you that are doing this course this way online in high school right now, I feel for you. The good news is most of your other classes are 16 weeks, so you're kind of trained to do it that way already. So let's check out week 2. Week 2, we start a second and third chapter. Notice they are staggered. Once again, begin with the lab and then move into lecture. For every module, we will have discussion board questions. Not every week, but every module. So notice where there's some discussions in the introduction, and there is a discussion within Module 1. We won't have our next discussion until Module 2. I've also broken this schedule up by putting the exam dates in wherever relevant. In this case, they come at the end of week 2. After we have completed the Module 1 material on Thursday right here, the exam will open, and in our case, it will be open till this particular schedule until Monday night. In the hybrid class, your dates will be a little different. That will be adjusted, and we will talk about these test dates in person. All right, I'm using this online schedule as an example right now. Okay, if you are in the 16-week course, of course you'll have 16 weeks, and I currently have your schedule in the class set up by module. I think that makes it a little easier for you guys to see the content. Okay, and we just continue. Every module looks very similar. You will notice the assignments are very similar. The learning outcomes are similar. We're going to get into these learning outcomes later, what they mean. They're very generic for A&P and they're big picture. That's why you see them repeating, because lab builds on certain outcomes and skills that you need. Lecture uses other skills. It's not necessarily an outcome specific to the exact detail of the content, but the big picture. That's why we are able to repeat those learning outcomes, and overall we see that learning concepts is huge in A&P. You understand a concept, then you can tie the details to that. So let's look how it goes. We have Module 1, we have our Module 1 test. Module 2, we work on completing it. Then we have a Module 2 test. Module 3 and Module 4. There are 4 modules. Then at the end, we have a final exam. Final exam is typically the last day or two of the course. And then you're finished and ready to move on and apply to whatever program you are taking A&P to meet the requirements for. All right, so as we come back, notice what we've covered so far. Orientation of starting here and your course schedule. Here are your introductory assignments. You will see that they match the schedule. There is a short video our contract, our first day assignment. If you don't understand that assignment, a brief explanatory video of that, a biography and a Learn Anything discussion board, and then an email assignment. The first day or two of class, I want everyone to email me from your OC email account, and depending upon the course you're in, your specific class will give you the exact title to use. Notice, if you don't want to have to type it like that, it's real easy to copy and paste that into the subject area of the email. This gives you all the information you need to open and complete this assignment. You will open that, you will answer the questions, and you will simply email it back to me with the appropriate title from your OC email address and your answers in bold on the next line. Here's a little answer to the navigation assignment itself, to one of the questions in it. Supplemental instruction. We are so fortunate in A&P to have supplemental instructors. And who these supplemental instructors are students that have successfully completed the sequence of A&P at Odessa College. So they've been in our classes, they've taken A&P just like you guys are taking it now. They've moved ahead in their education, and yet they come back and they're embedded in our courses. They offer sessions in person and online every week with tips and content to help you to be successful. Not only do they understand A&P, but they understand A&P at OC in the hybrid and online environment. They are priceless. Please, please, please take advantage of their knowledge and their experience, wisdom, etc. All right? And then finally, we get to the stuff that you're thinking of when you get to A&P, the content of A&P. Here we have it laid out by module. It doesn't fit, everything you need to do doesn't fit in a week to week to week. So therefore, your content is laid out module here. Notice module 1 spans a couple of weeks, module 2 a couple more, 3 a couple more. That's how we group it. So here's every module, and this is the great thing about course design these days. You're going to see the same things in every module because we want you to get comfortable with this. We want the design of the course to be in the background and you to be able to interact with the content, your classmates, and your instructor without the course design getting in the way. It should only enhance. So, for every module, here's what you'll see. Recordings for lab and the documents that you need for lab. Recordings for lecture and the documents you need for lecture. Then your practice quizzes for whatever chapters are covered. Finally, every module will have one discussion board, sometimes more than one, but typically one. Notice all of our discussions, I'm going to open this so you can see. All of our discussions in this course have an initial post date and a date that the replies are due by. The date that I put on the due date for all discussions is the reply due date. Please know you should have your post done typically 3 or 4 days before that so that everybody has a chance to read the initial posts before they reply. The beauty of doing it this way is when you go to do your initial post, there will almost always be other students that have posts that you can go ahead and reply on right then. You don't have to wait. If you happen to be the first 1, 2, or 3 people to post, you already understand if you're posting early that you may have to wait, but you typically don't have to wait till the due date to reply because there are tons of people that have already created their initial posts. By the way, on your discussions, your initial post is worth 6 points and each of your replies are worth 2 points. A reply should not just be, great job. All right, you need to address your classmate by name and include some relevant, important information. Have some type of discussion about it, not just agree with them, right? In life, people never agree more with other people than on discussion boards and classes. It's kind of hilarious. And so that, notice also, here are your learning outcomes. Learning outcomes do not change. They're the same in every module. And here they are. Upon successful completion of the lecture portion, students should be able to use terminology, very important, related to organs and systems. Explain how various relationships work within a system, from molecules to cells to tissues to organs, okay? Be able to understand how the systems interact and interdepend upon one another. Explain how organs and systems are related to the homeostasis of the human body. Identify some major disease or disorders. We can also call those homeostatic imbalances. What causes them? What are the effects of them? Sometimes we'll talk about modern technology and tools used to study A&P. Not just study A&P, but study health, the human body, and disease. Okay? And in lab, you will learn about safety and ethical standards along the way. We will commonly identify anatomical structures. You'll learn to use virtually, for some of you, certain tools or simulations, acquisitions. We'll work collaboratively to perform experiments. You'll be taken through the scientific method. You'll learn to communicate in such a way that you investigate scientifically, you analyze data, and form conclusions based on that. Huge part of science, healthcare, and research. And you will be able to critically think and problem solve and look at all these important verbs that help us to understand that. So these are the big picture. Remember, I let you guys know the learning outcomes are big picture. That's why they repeat. I will just open Module 2 for you so you can see. Wow, Module 2 is laid out like Module 1, except there are quite a few more chapters. Don't worry, I'll explain how this works later. Module 3, looking the same. Gotta love it. It's the design in the background. Module 4. Okay, exam information. You will open this document prior to exam 1. I'll go ahead and open it for you. I'm not going to read it, but there's very important information. Okay, very important information about tests. This may be updated, so even though you see it on the screen right now, go ahead and read the one that's in your course. All of your exams, every test we have will be in the exam folder. I don't keep it in the module. I have a specific exam folder. We have a little webcam test to make sure technology is working. For lab exam 1, there's a practice lab exam. Please note, that is to give you experience taking a fill-in-the-blank lab exam. It's not graded for content. It won't count. Neither of these count as part of your grade, okay? They are there to help you learn how to take the test, learn how to use the technology, and then get it out of the way. All right? Lab exam, lecture exam, they're not available yet because I'm in student preview, but it shows you the due dates. We have 4 modules. That means 4 lab exams, 4 lecture exams. And then there will be a comprehensive makeup exam we'll explain later, and the final exam. Okay? If you need help, first contact is me, Dr. Cooper. Go ahead and send me an email. But sometimes you need help not from me. There's a nice resource here, Help for Students, that provides you with links and information. And speaking of that, your first place for help might actually be the syllabus. So let's go back in now and look at the syllabus. All OC faculty now use this neat program called Simple Syllabus. So you will see when you're in multiple courses that your syllabi looks similar. That's because we have a certain order that it's supposed to be in and different items that we need to put for you. Here I am, peering over my glasses because I don't quite yet need reading glasses. This is me, Dr. Cooper. I've been here at OC. I started here in 1997. I know many of you weren't born yet. Yes, I've taught some of your parents and maybe even your grandparents. All right. You can view my CV or resume if you'd like by going there. Here's my office phone number. Here's my office. And most importantly, primary mode of contact is email. Office hours and Collaborate support hours, these will vary from term to term. So this video, those may not be relevant for your class. Make sure and look at your course to see. A little bit about me. Yeah, I came to OC before I moved off and then eventually came back as a professor. Preferred method of communication, you know it's email. Depending on the class you're in, it will give you a title to please use in the subject area of an email. That is because I teach multiple classes, and especially early in the term, it helps for you to use a title that helps me identify what class you're in. If I see that title, it means that I can orient my mind before entering your email, and I will be able to fire off a response much quicker than if I have to go into my various courses and try to figure out which class you're asking about. Instructor expectations. Once again, these things you can read. I'm trying to keep this video from being too long. I don't want it to be a book, but there's very important expectations for all of your instructors, not just me. We need to be timely with you. We need to notify you. Okay. Departmental information, if you ever need to contact the department chair, it's Dr. Bolton. Here's his information. Current textbook, we're using an OER textbook. Happens to be quite cheap for a textbook in AMP. It's $50. You will get access for more than a year to this digital text. It has quizzes built in and videos, very short anatomical videos, really good stuff. This is our first year to use this book. We're going to be building resources around this book. Therefore, we highly recommend it. You will see a lot of stuff still from the previous textbook we used, so that's why I mention it here. If you want to pick up an old copy of one of those, you're welcome to do that too. Once again, there is no mandatory textbook, but I think you might find this digital version very helpful for your learning and understanding. Okay. Once again, it is important that you go through this first part of the syllabus. Very important for AMP. You need to have a computer that works. The computer needs to have a webcam. It needs to be able to get on Respondus. So depending upon if you're a high school student using a Chromebook, you may have to have your school have somebody with admin privileges get that downloaded for you the first time, well before the first test, so you don't get shocked the day of the test and not be able to get into that. Also keep in mind, there's always a workaround, and that workaround is you can use any computer to take the test. So if you have a laptop that's not working right or has a glitch, you can use somebody else's laptop, you can use somebody else's desktop or even iPad. It doesn't have to be your computer, it just has to be your brain taking the test. You cannot use other resources, your phone, other people for information, but you can use somebody else's computer. Blackboard, most of this works best through Google Chrome. Definitely, they have said that testing in the Respondus browser, which is what we use through Google Chrome, works best. It has worked in Firefox, but definitely doesn't work well in the Microsoft products, Internet Explorer, and Edge. So if you're trying through those, you may have a significant issue. Once again, reminder, OC email account. Yes, you may have a personal Gmail, but please email us from your OC email. That helps keep us from spreading viruses across the virtual campus. If you're in AP2, you should have passed AP1 with a grade of C or better. If you've taken AP1 more than 3 years ago, and so you moved right into AP2, you should note that for most programs, you have to have AP1 and 2 within 3 years for them to be relevant. Most programs require that now, unless you took them as a part of a degree. But even that may vary. So please keep that in mind. Sometimes it's best if you know you're going to have to repeat AP1 after AP2, just go ahead and take it in order and get back in AP1. Because frankly, AP1 is easier than AP2. AP2 is harder. It's the second course in the sequence, and it is made to prepare you for a program. AP1, all it's there to do, well, of course, teach you anatomy, but to prepare you for AP2. Here's a list of our topics. Elements of success. These are just my tips to you that I've found over the course of teaching and found in other locations. Okay. Attributes of an online and hybrid learner in the modern world, very important. Very important. Grading. You all want to know about this. Recently, we've updated the way that we grade in A&P. Here's what it is. Your lecture exams, of which there are 4, will count for 30% of your course grade. Lab exams, there are 4 of those. They will count a total of 20%. Your discussion boards will account for 10% of your grade. Your practice quizzes and other homework assignments will equate to 20%, and your final exam is 20%. Blackboard will calculate and update your grade for you as you complete assignments. Please note, I do not typically put zeros in until later in the term, until well past the due date. So your grade may not always be updated if you have fallen far behind. That's because I don't want to discourage you. And when you complete a grade, I don't want you to have to wait on me to notice that you've done it to change your grade from 0 to something else. That wouldn't be a problem if Blackboard notified me when you complete an assignment. But unfortunately, if I put a grade of 0 in, and let's say I have 150 students, Blackboard doesn't tell me when you've done it. I have to go in manually, find you, and go search and read to see if you've completed those grades. So it is not efficient. So that is why typically I don't enter zeros until later. 1, it gives you hope that, hey, if I do well on these assignments, my grade will be close to what it is now. But 2, it's because of the way Blackboard works. Grading scale, A's are 90s, B's are 80s, C's are 70s, D's are 60s, and an F is less than. It's 50 or below, in the 50s or below. Okay. This is just more from the syllabus. I'm making sure you can read a lot of this. Your participation, what's important from you. There's an OC contract that highlights some of this too. Some course policies and requirements. Here's the schedule with important dates. You've seen this in another location, but it's here as well. I like this part right here. Procrastination is the enemy of not just online students, commonly most students. In some of our discussion boards, most of them have a component of reflection, and one of the themes that I see is people mention that they have issues with procrastination and putting things off. I think that's a common thread in our society these days. So the earlier that you identify that and take steps to change it, the better off you'll be. When you see something like this, it means you can click on it to open it. Okay. Student learning outcomes, I already went through these with you. They're listed here as well. Core objectives are listed here as well. And then down at the bottom, there's a lot of important information from OC that you can look up later on. I don't expect you to memorize all this stuff. There's so much. The good news is this is standardized through all the syllabi, so you will see this from all of your professors. This is not standardized. I have this in here. We've been using this for quite a few years. If you take classes at UTPB, you might see this as well. Just important to understand, people have computer problems, and sometimes anything that can go wrong will. So plan ahead, all right? The more that you can organize your information either in a physical binder or online, the better off you'll be. For important files, save them. Save them soon and save them often. If you take digital notes, save them, save them, save them. You don't want to lose your work. Back up your data. Cloud storage is great. Maybe you want a USB or flash drive. Maybe you just want to have it on your computer with some kind of backup somewhere else. Identify an alternate computer. That can be important as well because everything is digital now. If your computer has an issue, has a hiccup, you can't go without working on the course for a week. Okay? And please don't lose contact with me. If something comes up and you happen to disappear from class for a few days, I would really appreciate an email to let me know what's going on. Not only as a courtesy, but to help me to be able to help you. Because if I can't reach out to you or don't know what's going on with you, it makes it a little more difficult to help you. And notice, no, I'm not asking you to violate HIPAA or any of those rules. Okay? And that was our syllabus. So that walks us through the course. Remember, you're going to get a lot of locations, especially in announcements, that provide tips. Our videos, this course is very heavy on watching videos. If you're online, watch the lab before the lecture. If you're face-to-face, we cover the lab in class. If you come to class, you won't need to watch a lab video typically, but you will still be doing lecture on your own and watching those same online videos that the online students are watching for a lecture unit. That is because when you come to face-to-face, it's not really face-to-face, it's hybrid. And that means you're coming half the time. So half the material's online. All right? With that said, we're going to have a great semester. I've taught over 5,000 people A&P. I still love it to this day. I think you're going to have an amazing experience. Stay connected, get connected. The more that you can find that you know why you're doing this, where you're going with A&P, I think the better off you'll be, because there's going to be times for all of us where it's hard, where we have to dig deep. But the more that you know what goal you want to reach, why you're doing this, the better off you'll be. We'll talk about that in class. And so therefore, with that said, I will see you guys soon in another video, or in person, or via email. Take care. We're going to have a great term.